How's it going? You want spiritual strength, you want family strength, you want mental strength, you want social strength, how to give back, how to care for others. You want strength and physical fitness. You came to the right show. You came to the right podcast because guess what? We want to welcome everyone who wants to be encouraged to be stronger in body, mind, and spirit. We want to welcome you because guess what? Today, we have another guest that's going to empower us, inspire us, encourage us with stories and strategies. This young lady has found out how to overcome inner barriers, and we all have inner barriers. She's going to help us to reach our full potential. This is Joanna Kleinman, a renowned psychotherapist, leadership coach, best-selling author. She's here to share her transformative ways on mastering your inner critic. Oh yeah, you know how that works. We all beat up on ourselves. That's not humility. And we all might think we're better than others. That's not humility. She's going to help us to gain true humility, unlocking our personal and professional growth. Let's get ready to be inspired by Joanna. She's beautiful. I love her earrings. So let's bring her on. I love those earrings. I saw those earrings. I was like, my wife wears these. I love when we go out on date nights and she's got these just tremendous earrings that just liven her up. So it's great to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Deb, so tell me about yourself. You want to encourage people. That's why we had you on today. And so share, like, what got you to the place, say, hey, I want to share encouragement with others and build others up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that goes back to 9 years old.
Wow.
Yes. So I started being introduced to transformational thinking at the age of 9, right? I was very blessed in that area. Both of my parents were into transformational thinking. I did a program for children at the time, and that sort of, kind of catapulted me to the point where by 13, I really knew that my life's purpose and my life's calling was about helping people to think in a fundamentally different way. So, I went on to graduate school and I became a psychotherapist. And, long story short, for many years, I was, I had a private practice as a therapist, and I loved the one-on-one work that I do, but there was something missing in that traditional method of psychotherapy and coaching. And so that's really what led me to develop my M.I.N.D Method, which I wrote a book about, and
So you're a philosopher. You're like a philosopher.
A little bit.
Yeah. So give me an example of, for some of the listeners that might not understand.
Yes.
Give me an example of a historical figure that would kind of like connect to you in the past and go, hey, this person kind of, if you know who this person is, they were one of the lead thinkers in psychotherapy.
Oh, that's so hard. I could, first of all.
So you're the first.
Well, I'm the first to create the M.I.N.D Method. Let's just
okay.
I've been influenced by an incredible amount of people. I've read, probably well over, 300 books, and I've done my own, personal transformational programs. So, I think if you take all of us in this space, yourself included, I think that when we're, really committed to changing how people see themselves and how people see their lives, right? It's sort of like we take a lot of different things that we study, plus things that we've experienced personally, plus things in our personal life, and we sort of, create our own method for, for supporting and encouraging people. So that's a little bit of what I've done.
Yeah, and you've done this with NFL films. With, by the way, that's one of some of my favorite films out there. Nestle and Nike and Microsoft. And so share with me why would they bring you in, and then what would you do for them and helping them dethroning your podcast is Dethroning Your Inner Critic.
That's right.
So why would they bring you in, and why would it be so effective? Because it must be effective.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we the way that we think, we actually think automatically, right? Like we don't we don't think about what we think. We just automatically think. It's kind of like our body breathes for us. Our body makes our heart beat. Our minds just go. And what most people don't understand is that there's a lot of automatic places that our mind goes, so that even if we are, I'm going to put successful in quotes, right? I mean, from people that, are the CEOs of multi-billion dollar, companies, and it looks like they've got it together, right? They've got all the money in the world, or they've got all the beauty in the world, or what, and they're miserable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What's that about? I mean, it's so interesting.
It's fascinating, right? So this is where this comes from. All of us, every single one of us as human beings, every single one of us has what I'm going to call a core issue. It's really a core wound. All right. And it starts usually before the age of 6. And that core wound is something that most people don't even know, that is still driving so much of their behavior, by the way, including their success sometimes.
For sure.
Right? So the way that I develop, all the work that I do is to really understand on a deep level, what is the difference between your automatic mind and your true self? And most people, what they want to do is they want to just fix their inner critic mind, right? Or their automatic mind. They want to change their thoughts. They want to change their beliefs. And 30 years as a psychotherapist and working with thousands of people, from all different walks of life, different countries, right? Different socioeconomic backgrounds. We cannot change our automatic mind. What we can do is we can create a space between who we really are and that mind, and we can rewire very different thoughts and beliefs that tune us to new emotions and new behaviors. But that voice that whispers to you,
Yeah, that lying voice.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my daughter about that in the car today. I was like, I go, Catherine, like when your friend says, yes, I love that. And then somebody says, yes, I want to hang out with you. And then they say, yes, you're looking beautiful. Does something inside you change? Like, well, if they say, no, I think you're ugly. No, I don't want to hang out with you. No. So what I hear you saying is that you can't, like, that feeling or those thoughts, that's going to be there.
Always.
But then there's a discipline, and this is what I was talking to her today. There's a discipline that you can master, that you can grow in, that you can foster and experience. And that's the truth of who you truly are. That you are good, that you are amazing, that you do matter. Share about it. I love this. This is great.
Yeah. So, one of the ways that we're conditioned in our culture is to associate our value, our worthiness with what we believe other people think about about us, right? So even as young as your daughter, or, all the way through our life, right? We associate our value with what are our accomplishments, right? Have we reached our goals? It could be how much money you're making, or whether you got that promotion, or whether you wrote the book, or whether you lost the weight, or whether you are in the relationship. And while these are wonderful goals to have, okay, when we unconsciously don't recognize that we keep reaching for the next goal, because that's the next thing that's going to fuel our value.
That's going to fill us,
right? What ends up happening is you will get to a particular point in your life where you will have accomplished a lot. You have a lot of check marks, but fundamentally, you are still feeling unfulfilled. You're still feeling that same, feeling of inadequacy. And that's the piece, what is really foundational for the quality of our lives is our relationship with ourselves, which then fuels our relationships with everybody else that matters the most to us. And that's the piece that most people are missing.
So for you, I'm going to share, if you don't mind, after you answer this, but So what's the truth that doesn't change for every human, for every person?
Yes.
What do you like? I'll probably share a little bit different take on it. You might believe it, you might not. But what this show's all about is I want people on this show that might believe totally different things than I believe, but I love you. You're like, I want to go out to eat with you and your family. And I want to talk about, your kids and who you are. Because like what you believe doesn't change how much I love you, how much I respect you. And so know that that's what we do here on Encouragement Conquers All. You might share something and I go, wait, let me share my take on it. Totally. All right. So what do you think I'm interested to hear from you. I really am, Joanna. Like what doesn't change for every single human being? What's your thoughts?
Yeah. What doesn't change is that we in some way have a fundamental underlying belief that in some way we're not enough.
Okay. So that doesn't change.
Nope. The thing that can change is that when you actually understand what that is, why it's there, when did it show up, who triggers it, what triggers it, now you can start to recognize in your life now, oh, that's just my I'm not good enough thing.
Okay.
Now, in my program, I have people, I say her, you might say him, but I give her a name. Okay. My inner critic's name is Worrying Wilhelmina. Okay.
Worrying Wilhelmina. All right. So I got to get a name. All right.
You got to get a name.
I'm Juicy Justin. I'm Juicy Justin.
There you go. So my inner critic is literally, hardwired around always finding where I'm not enough, where I don't measure up. She wants me to compare myself to other people. She wants me to reach that goal because that's going to be the goal that's finally going to make me feel like I'm good enough, right? And so many people are on that path where they either are held back from reaching their most important goals and dreams, or they've reached their most important goals and dreams and they're still not feeling the way that they want to feel. So either end of the spectrum, So
when does that stop for you? Like when does that stop? When you
learn
in your mind and mastering your mind and mental strength for our listeners, when does that stop for you? What's your advice?
Okay. So what I'm going to say, Justin, is that it's not about stopping it.
Okay, great.
Right? So what it's about is unhooking yourself from your automatic mind the moment that you see it.
Okay, great.
And when you really,
I like this.
Yep. So when you really understand it on a very deep, intimate level, now it's no longer automatic and unconscious.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I go in the mall, I like 100 girls. That doesn't mean I'm going to go kiss them all. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like if I go in the mall, I see how to go, like, she's beautiful. She's pretty. I'm not going to kiss every one of them, right?
That's right. So the methodology that I created, that I trademarked, called the M.I.N.D Method, is really about understanding what I call the blinking red warning lights that alert you that your inner critic has taken over your mind. So it's the thoughts, the beliefs, the emotions, the body sensations, and the behaviors that are clear indicators to you, oh, my automatic mind is in control right now.
Okay, now where do you go from there? What? Okay, so now you're like, okay, we're not stopping it. It's always going to be there. Right. I'm with you on that. I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a truth that everybody can go to, or would you believe it's like everybody's own truth?
The universal truth is we are actually not who our mind says we are.
Okay. Yep.
We are separate from that.
Yep.
So when you start really understanding the parts of yourself that were literally created by your automatic mind, Now you can start consciously and deliberately pushing your mind towards very different thoughts and beliefs that have you tuning into very different emotions. And from those emotions, like gratitude, like seeing how proud you are of yourself for the things that you've already overcome, for seeing your resiliency, for seeing your strength, for looking back on
what
your
you're
life.
saying is more of the Socratic, the Plato, the Jesus, like going to virtue.
Yes.
Going to virtue, going to things that don't change, virtues that withstand the ignoramus or the total exhaustion of all this.
That's right.
What's more powerful than that? You're saying gratitude. You're saying resiliency. You're saying discipline of character.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Because I really like this.
Yeah.
That's why. Well, this is why Nestle's asking you to come in. I mean, this is why, because I really like this.
Yes.
And the reason I like it, it fits with I'm more. I have my dad always says this. My dad's an entrepreneur, took a company public. So you grow up in a family like that. You deal with these people, right?
I do.
It's like you got to achieve. You got to do this. You have to accomplish that. Now, I still have that.
Yeah.
But my dad's always like, all the other kids, they care about like what I think.
Right.
He goes, you don't even care.
Yeah.
And he goes, I actually like that about you. He goes, I really like that. He goes,
yeah.
But why don't you care? And I say this, and this is my belief.
Yeah.
I say, because I have a relationship with God, the Father.
Yeah.
He's my Father.
Yes.
Like, you're my Father, yes, but you're an imperfect Father.
Right.
He sees me and loves me for just the way I am.
Yeah.
And when I screw up, I'm loved. And you know what? I do screw up. And when I do great things, he's cheering me on. That's my boy. I'm proud of you. I love you. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that? Is that like a healthy and a strong foundation?
Well, yes. And you could replace that with, whatever your choice of belief is. You could say it's God. You could say it's the universe. You could say it's Divine Mother. You could say, right. But
and so for me, like where I'd go like for you, you'd be like, okay, you can replace it with whatever you want because you understand and I get it. And I'm with you because I've traveled the world and spoke all across the world. There are so many different belief systems. So you want to make sure to see the goodness in each person and not disrespect how they've grown. And I've been to India and, how the Hindus and all of them. My brother's actually Hindu, and then people that are atheists, though, that are some of the most virtuous people I ever meet in my life. So I do see that.
Yes.
But for me, like, I'm like, man, like I do desire so many people to know they do have a Father that loves them so much and that there's such a gift. So, but for you and this process, I really like this. So, okay, you shared before we got on. I just want to bring this up because I love people. I just love. Even people that hate me. I love them. Like I really do. Like
that's about that. Yes.
I love people, and why I love people, whether they hate or whether they have goodness all the time.
Yeah.
People are so unique.
They are.
And I love hearing. And I'd love to hear you shared about your dad, Larry.
Yes.
Who passed away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Just recently in September of 2023. Yeah. Yep.
So could you be kind of like your own inner critic to give them kind of an example of how you battle this? Because my dad hasn't passed away. I know it's going to be very difficult for me for 100 reasons.
Yeah.
My mom, I could kill somebody and she'd be like, you did it the best way. You know what I mean? That's so how do you go through that?
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great question. So, and I did share with you before the podcast recording started that today is his actual birthday. He would have been 81.
I want to say I'm honored.
Yep. Yep.
To share this day with you. What a gift that I get to share this day because your dad must have meant so much to you.
He did, and he still does. I just because he's passed away, I still have an ongoing relationship with him.
Beautiful.
Writing him a letter later today. Yeah. And so, it's interesting because my dad is, in many ways my greatest inspiration. He really got me on the path of personal growth, and he's a lot of the reason why I do the work that I do today. But at the same time, we also had issues in our relationship, just like
all relationships. Yeah.
all relationships, right? So, as much as he was my greatest inspiration, part of the great inspiration was the struggles that I had with him, So, I will say that, in my relationship with him, he had some issues with anger, and it was never directed at me. Okay. But it was still scary and uncomfortable as a young child, and it was never, violent or anything like that. But what, how it contributed to my wound in some way is, if you, and, I didn't know this at the time, right? But it's some wound, like, if you really loved me and you really valued me, you wouldn't behave this way. Right. And so what happens is when we have that core wound, we don't even realize what it is. Then we drag it with us through our life. And then it starts to filter the way that we see everything. So what I was dragging with me through my life is this automatic need, I will say, okay, for other people to love me, value me, choose me, want me, right? And so when I could really, and this is why I created the work that I engage in now with other people, because when you can clearly see that wound and you can start disintegrating that automatic need, right? Whatever it is, I need people to think I'm smart. I need people to think I'm successful. I need people to think I'm purposeful, right? That's the very thing that gets in your way from really creating your dreams, because and you might agree with this in your own pursuit, okay? The very thing that has us really getting to the things that we really want to do in life is our ability to step way outside of our comfort zone, to be uncomfortable on purpose.
Every day.
Every day, right?
Every day. Uncomfortableness is the gift. Is the gift.
Yep, that's right. So, so that's the thing. And it's like, there's no arrival point with this. Okay. It's like building a muscle. Your muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger at being able to see what's underneath your automatic thoughts, beliefs, emotions, behaviors, unhooking from that, and then tuning into something different, which for me, if I'm going to now, use my own work, the new mind, right? Not that old mind doesn't show up, but my new mind is, I don't need anybody else to show me my value, because I now see my own value. Do I get triggered into that old wound? Of course I do, all the time. But when I can see, okay, now I see what that is. Now I have a choice to either blindly follow that automatic mind down the same rabbit hole and the same thoughts, beliefs, emotions, behaviors, or I can intentionally and consciously tune into a very different thought. And that's the very thing that's changed the trajectory of my life, and has, I've now, had thousands of people go through my Mastering Your Mind program, and that's what's changed the direction of their life too. And it's profound.
So what you're saying is, for your father, like some of the negative wounds that affected you, and they still affect you, and you battle through that daily in different ways.
Yep.
That's a gift. That's
completely.
Yeah, because that's what I believe.
Yes.
Like, it's why for me, like, the cross, right?
Yes.
Like, people, like, it's the most known symbol in the world. And people always ask, how is the cross? It's like the worst day of this guy's freaking life.
Yes.
And I go, yeah, because that's every day for every person. So people connect with the cross
Yes.
in such a profound way,
Yes.
and why it is the most known symbol in all of the world
Yes.
is because you have to carry a freaking cross.
Yes.
And once you can be okay with that
That's right.
and say that that's a gift,
That's right.
that your cross in your mind, and some people have a mental cross, some people have a feeling cross, as you know, right?
Yeah.
Some people have a success cross, right?
That it doesn't matter where it comes from. I had a client who, she got divorced from running ultra marathons. Everybody would say, "Oh my God, you're a rock star. You're amazing." Well, I get ultra marathons are great, but there was a wound that was driving that behavior that was having her run away from a lot of parts of her life.
Yeah. Talk about this. Like, there's a lot of people, and I don't, young ladies, young men. I work with a lot of young adults, a lot of sports teams that coach. So when people have these wounds, and they talk about in the Johari window and wounds that are unknown, that nobody knows, or wounds that you might know and they might not know.
Yes.
Or wounds that they do know and they don't reveal, or wounds that are revealed. How do you handle when people aren't dealing with their wounds and it's negatively affecting? Because what I see most people doing in our culture right now, and I understand there's certain extreme circumstances you need to do this, is they just run. They're like, I'm done with you.
Yes.
Forget you.
Yes.
But wouldn't you say it's still going to be there if you run, right? So what do you, when these wounds are kind of like coming from someone else?
Yes.
Like, let's say somebody's doing well in your mind, transformative methods, and they're really achieving well, but they're not doing well with the people outside of them.
Yes.
How do you help somebody? Because I think that's sometimes the hardest thing to do.
So I do want to say that the way we do one thing is the way we do everything.
Okay. All right.
So you can't, if you've got this wound and you're not aware of it, even if you're successful in this area, right, it's still going to get in your way.
I agree.
Yeah.
So let's get it out of the way. How do we not stop it? I like that. How do we get it out of the way?
Well, so the thing to understand is that it is never, and I'm really going to say never, it's never the circumstances of our life that cause us pain. Now, even if somebody dies and we could be grieving, right? I'm still grieving for my father. I'm grieving. I'm sad, but I'm not suffering. I'm not in pain. Those are two, right? You can be sad, you can have grief, but suffering is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about pain. Okay. So suffering.
Well, what's your definition of the difference? Because I might have a different definition. What's your definition of suffering and your definition of circumstance?
Well, it's always going to be our thoughts and beliefs about our circumstances that cause our suffering. It's never going to be the circumstances themselves. And we all know people that have heard of people or have seen people on TV that have suffered the most unbelievable, horrific circumstances. And here they are, at peace and grateful and, making a difference out there for other people. And then you see people that seemingly have everything and they're horrible and miserable. And so it's really not the circumstances. It's our thoughts and beliefs. So, that, the truth is nobody can change unless they are ready to start pointing the finger at themselves and start looking at what is my role, right, in creating this circumstance to be the way that it is. So even if you have somebody that's horrible and abusive and right, absolutely, that might mean you should not stay in that relationship. You should leave, right? You should absolutely leave. Of course,
yeah.
But people often will blame, right? Well, the reason why my life is terrible is because of this horrible human, right?
Yeah.
There are, not very unhealthy humans out there. But the reason why your life looks the way that it is not because of that horrible human. That horrible human is acting from his or her own pain, But your life is yours to create. And so that's the only access that we have to change is our willingness to take ownership and responsibility for our thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
But in our culture, I really see that not happening very well right now. I mean, that's something that I see. It's like disastrous.
It is.
How's it going? It's Justin Fatica, and I can tell you I'm so thankful for your encouraging messages and engagement and joining us for our videos that we hope are bringing you encouragement when you need it most. Now, before you go, I want to tell you about some exciting news. Since I was 19 years old, it's my dream to build facilities for kids. Well, that dream is happening. It's a place where young people and their families can relax, socialize, work out, be encouraged, that they can make a difference in somebody's life every day or have their lives be impacted. That's where we need you. We need you to ask yourself if you'd like to help us to break ground. You can be a part of this mission within less than 1 year. But if we don't have help, we can't do this. Now, I know right now there are a lot of people struggling, but we're just looking for pocket change, a rainy day fund, or to connect us with partners who can help make this dream a reality. We want every single kid and every single family to know they're amazing. And it starts with you. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content so we can keep you updated, so you can keep us going. And together, remember, we are making a lasting impact. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your support, and stay encouraged. And never forget, you were made for an amazing day, and it starts with what lives within you. You're amazing.
And all
like people don't own anything.
No.
It's like, oh, I shot that person. That's because they did. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I beat that person. Oh, I stole from that person. But it's her fault. It's his fault. We don't own it. So how does that paradigm switch? What are your thoughts? I mean, we can't all hang out with you every day.
Okay, so what I do believe is that there are things about this that are starting to permeate our culture. Okay, let's even talk about the conversation that we're having today, right? I mean, we just met, I don't know, a half hour ago, and we're like completely, aligned on the same page. Why? Because it is starting to get into our culture, right? Now, sometimes, unfortunately, I don't know if you've ever heard this quote, our pain pushes us before our vision pulls us. Okay. So if we're looking at this collectively as a culture, as a society, and we're going deeper and deeper and deeper into some really pain and shit, right? Like a lot.
Sure.
And I am of the belief that sometimes we need to get to that critical level. Sometimes think about it on an individual level, right? People don't wake up and say, I need to change until they're basically hit in the face with the proverbial fire, frying.
Right. Most people, that's what happens.
Exactly. And so that's also what's happening culturally as well, is that we unfortunately have to wake up on a really, painful level before.
Yeah, what you're saying is pain is power, wounds is wisdom, right? You're saying your problems are opportunities.
Absolutely.
And I think we have the voices of truth, I would call them.
Yes.
The voices of truth.
Yes.
The truth is I am amazing. You can't change that.
That's right.
Whether you like me or not, you can't change. You're like, I don't like you, Justin. I hate you. Well, okay. Well, I'm sure I have some things I need to change. We all do. But guess what? I have been made with a purpose, and there's a call for my life. And every listener, there's a call for their life. They have a purpose designed for them personally. And I think people don't realize the power and wisdom these wounds and pain give us. And one thing is forgiveness.
Yes.
How do you do so for me, forgiveness is like, look, that's wrong what you did for me. And you might not even change, but I forgive you because I see the good in you despite you.
Yes. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for us.
Yeah, that's hard for people to realize, though. Most people say, "Oh, forgive them when they change."
Right. Now, there are plenty of times where in the work of forgiveness, that does not mean that you accept that person back into your life. It may mean that you need to completely sever your relationship and contact. But forgiveness is really about understanding that whatever they did, even if it was horrible, okay, whatever it is that they did, that actually stems from their pain. And that's not an excuse. That's not a justification. But what they did is about them. And you have a choice about how you are going to continue to think and believe about what that person did or said or didn't do or didn't say.
Yeah. So what would be like, so I'm one of the people, you're mastering my mind, right? And you're like, and I know it's not about achievement, so I don't like using that word, but I do like, what would be your goal for me? Like, what would be your, now, meaning I know you're like, oh, it's the goal for them. They have to choose those goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, you're giving individual responsibility, but like, is there an ultimate truth
Yeah.
that at the end of the day, you want somebody to come to?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So people do come in with their own individual goals. Okay. But what they end up discovering is that, as I said, the mind that we have is the lens through which we see everything. So when they start, first they come in with the goal. Let's say, I want to write a book or I want to start a business. And we start looking at, what gets in the way. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to start to see, oh, well, you know what? This feeling that I'm not good enough also gets triggered. I'm making this up. When my husband forgets to, when my husband forgets my birthday, or right. And he knows how important my birthday is. And
Give me your number. I'll text him to remind him. All right. He can't be doing that. All right.
Can't be doing that. But again, it is, and I'm not saying we should just like, oh, it's fine, you forgot my birthday. But when we understand even in our relationships, when we get triggered by that other person into that core wound, right? He forgot because I don't matter. No, he forgot because, he's irresponsible and he has ADHD and he, needs to do a better job of, whatever, that he needs to take responsibility for that. But it's really about understanding that the wound that gets in the way of your deepest relationship, of your parenting, of your, it's all the same wound. Whether you're talking about getting the promotion,
you're saying it's the same wound that nobody believes they're ever enough.
Yes, but and it's different for all of us. It shows up differently for all of us.
Yeah, correct.
Yes,
but that's the basic core.
That's the basic core that drive. And I'll give you a biological reason for this.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, we're animals, right? So we've got this primitive part of our brain that back in caveman and cavewoman times, we needed to, kind of pay attention to danger. We needed to pay attention. We needed to make sure we weren't eaten by tigers and right. So, so we've got this primitive part of our brain that seeks out danger. Okay. Now, when we're really little, and we first have that first experience, oh my God, there's something wrong. It could be something silly. Mom yells at me for spilling milk, whatever. But we first have that, oh my God, there's something wrong. And to a small child, that's overwhelming for a variety of reasons, right? Also in our DNA is we need to belong to the tribe. We need to make sure we're valued by, mom and dad, or else we died. We don't know any of this is going on. It's at such a biological root level. Okay. But that feels so overwhelming that in that moment, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, we decide, okay, I need to make sure that never happens again. So I become the accomplished one, the funny one, the smart one, the fixer, the helper, the whatever. That's where it starts. So as we're, dragging that with us throughout our life, that starts to filter what we pay attention to. And by the time we are adults, I'm going to give you a benign example. It's like you buy a new car, you drive it off the lot, all you see is your car on the road. Okay. It's not that there are more cars, all of a sudden, it's that you're seeing it differently. So we have all this evidence that we've gathered throughout our life. And really, it's because what we've automatically been paying attention to is all the people and all the experiences that caused us that pain. And that's what reinforces our sense of self. So these are primitive. It's like what mastering your mind is really about is learning how to override what is our biological DNA that has us think the way that we think. And when we really understand it at that root level, a lot of this is science. When we really understand it at that root level, that's when we have the power to really rewire very different thoughts and beliefs and behaviors.
Yeah, what do you think about the metaphysical reality of like faith and of purpose and of truth?
Yes.
Like where are you at on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I do believe that it is really important that all of us have some purpose to fulfill. It doesn't even have to be anything huge, but when we can get that automatic mind out of the way, that's when we can really access our soul, our intuitive, deeper wisdom. I call that God wisdom that lives within each one of us. When we are so intertwined with that automatic mind, we don't have access to that deeper wisdom. And when we have access finally to that deeper wisdom, we can start actually listening for what our soul really wants for us. And you could even say, when we connect with our soul, we are really connecting with God or the universe or divine.
Yeah, like for me, I have a relationship with God. Now that could scare you, but or maybe you have to, of course, keep it in check, and be very prudent about that and tempered about it and very disciplined about that. But when you have a relationship with God, like you start to see that I would call what you're talking about original sin. That's what I would call it.
Yeah.
That I'm not enough, that I need to achieve, that how I was talked to by a kid, that wound, like the death, your dad dying, that's original sin, right?
Yeah.
That's how I would see it.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay, how do we get out of that? How we get out of that is accepting a relationship with God the Father to say, you know what, like that is not who you truly are.
Yes.
You are greater than that. You are more beautiful than that. Like all those lies, all those untrue things, all the blaming and the shaming yourself and others.
Yes.
Like you have to renew your mind.
That's right.
Renew your mind. The old things have passed. The old things have passed. New things shall come. You're a new creation.
That's right.
In Christ. And so, and I bring that up because right now in our culture, I think there's really a battle, like where, like once I bring up faith, all of a sudden, I can't be a friend to this guy. Or let's say once you bring up that there's no reason for faith, I can't be a friend to you. So I'm asking you two questions.
Yes.
One, does this make sense, what I'm sharing?
Yes.
And then two, like, how do we battle in our culture with all these different belief systems?
Yeah. I believe that your relationship with yourself is really a kind of a microcosm of your relationship with God or spirit or the universe. Okay. Now, if you don't believe in any of that, then you could just believe in your relationship with yourself. It doesn't matter where you are looking at, and I, the way that I teach it is sort of a combination of both, right? Because I think that believing in, an all loving and all accepting and right, God or the universe. I think that has us be able to develop that from within ourselves. And I think that that's really the key, because for some people, it isn't enough to say, well, God loves me. We've got to take that.
They need to love who they are, not just God loving you.
That's right.
But then for some people, it's not enough for them to just say, oh, I love myself.
That's right. That's right.
So, but you wouldn't say you'd need both. You just say,
I would.
You would say that?
I would say that.
You would say that both is like a greater decision.
Absolutely. Because part of, what I also believe is that part of having that relationship with that higher whatever,
Yep.
many people don't recognize, again, we can even talk about that from a biological standpoint, but many people are trying to control parts of their lives that they have no control over, and they don't recognize it. And so when they start to, what I say, let go and let God, let go and let the universe decide, right? Where they let go of their own timeline, they let go of their own demands, they let go of their own expectations. We've got to keep taking action towards what we want. But at the same time that we're taking action, we've got to let go of the timeline and the expectations and the attachments. And that's actually what has us get in more of a flow of life, where we're not just feeling good when everything is looking the way that we think it should. When we're really letting go and trusting all of it, that's where we can really stay at peace.
Yeah, and I love this. It's probably why your podcast does pretty well. Tell me about your podcast. Like, why do you think it does well, and why do you think somebody might want to check you out and see your podcast?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. I mean, I have over like 150,000 downloads of the podcast. So I think it's something that people really resonate with. I think that, whether people admit it to, outside of themselves, we all have that automatic mind that keeps us stuck.
I love that, by the way. I really want to encourage you on that. You should keep doing this.
I plan on it.
All right. No. Okay. So one thing that I do. So every person who watches this show is supposed to design a plan for their life. They don't have to do it all. But anybody that listens to this show, if they listen right now, if they haven't done it, and this is the first time listening, they're supposed to put, in a notebook, in a journal, whatever, mental strength they could start with. Like today, we're focused more on mental strength. They could start with spiritual strength. They could start with family strength. They could start with career and financial strength, right?
Yes.
So what my expectation of anybody listening to this podcast is that you'd start designing your life to become stronger in those areas. Social strength, giving back. So on mental strength, if somebody were to start designing a plan to be strong mentally, where would you start?
Yeah. So, I have this M.I.N.D method. The D step is design your life. Okay. Now, the way that I describe it is where you start is, of course, you have to write down all of the visions that you want in all of these areas, because they're all the areas you mentioned are incredibly important. But before you can, really start taking those steps, we've got to first be willing to put that automatic mind on loudspeaker, right? So the M step.
So the wounds, you're saying the wounds, the lies, the things that are like the anxiety of those overthinking, you need to make that really loud.
Yeah. So the M step of the M.I.N.D method is meet your inner critic. And this is where, instead of most people are running away from that voice.
Correct.
I'm actually telling people to lean into that voice and deal with that.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's game on right there.
That's right.
Game on. Every listener, start loud and clear hearing those lies. Yeah. Okay. Write them down. Let's go. Then what do you do? Come on, Joanna.
You know how you have, if you have a purse or a bag or something, and you're dumping everything out. You're dumping, you want to get the crumbs out of the little corners.
Yeah. I don't do that, but my wife does that. But I don't do that. Right. No, I do that with my basketball bag. I have to be.
There you go. So it's getting into the habit of every single day dumping your mind out. Now, a lot of people say, well, now I'm just sitting here reading my negative, mind. I don't want, right? That makes me, but when you're actually seeing it every day, what you start to notice is we're not having any new thoughts.
That's a great point. I like that.
It's regurgitated thoughts. Same thoughts we had yesterday, the month before, the year before, 5 years before. It doesn't change. And we keep thinking, oh, no, these are new thoughts because of what my sister said or what my boss said or what. No, it's the same exact thoughts.
Have you gotten into like a core base of all of those or no? Like, have you been able to create like, okay, these are probably the basic lies that most people hear?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
what are they? What are they?
I mean, like I said, it's I'm not good enough, and here's
Okay.
why. I'm not important enough, and here's why. I'm not valued enough, and here's why. If I only had this in my life, then I would be happy.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Okay,
all-
so what's the next step? So now you're dumping it. We don't want to stay there.
Yeah.
So what do we do next?
Yeah. The I step is to investigate the indication signs. So those are the body sensations and the emotions, okay, and the behaviors. So when you have when somebody triggers that thought, I'm not enough, I'm not loved enough, I'm not valued enough, you'll start to get familiar with, oh, that lives right here in my chest, or that lives right here in my stomach, or like that lives in my shoulders, right? And you start to just lean into that feeling and that emotion. And then you really start to understand, oh, okay, so-and-so does, let's say so-and-so doesn't like me. And look at what I'm making that mean. I'm making that mean that, he or she doesn't like me. That means that I'm some way unlikable. Well, now we start to question that. Is that true? How do you know that's true? That because so-and-so doesn't like you, choose you, want you, or you don't get that job, or you don't get that promotion or whatever. Is that really true? How do you know that that's true? And you start kind of poking holes in what you didn't even recognize was your personal reality. And so that's how it goes. And then the end step is to neutralize the never-ending message. When you have that experience, my sister said this yesterday, and this is how it made me feel, and these are the thoughts I had. You start to see that core wound. Oh, she said that. And you know what? I have the same feeling that I did in the 5th grade when little Joey stuck his tongue out at me. It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
we start to connect it. Yeah. And that's when
you watch Rocky.
Yeah.
That's when you like put Rocky on, or like remember the Titans, and you go, we can do anything.
Listen, we're all struggling.
I'm joking.
We're all, I don't care who you are. I don't care what your life looks like. Nobody is free from this.
No, but I agree with that. Okay, what's the 4th step to make you mentally strong? Decide. We're probably deciding something here.
No, it's design your life. So what you're doing is
Wait.
There it is.
I love this.
I know, you said it. You took the words right out of my mouth.
We're a team. You and I, Joanna and I. We're gonna bond.
That's right. So you start to now, in all those areas that you talked about, and you have these visions, you have these goals, and you start to discern, is that thought that I'm having, is that in alignment with what I'm creating in this area of my life? And if it's not, what is a different thought that I can have about myself, about what's possible, right? About redefining how I want to think about myself now in this moment, so that I can actually see that I can create that, right? So in other words, going back to like my husband forgets my birthday, right? When you've untangled yourself from your automatic mind, you still might have the conversation with your husband and say, it really actually is not okay with me that you don't remember my birthday. But you're not coming from that deep wound anymore. And so you're approaching the situation differently.
It's not, you forgot my birthday, I'm going to kill you.
That's right. You're not throwing your love out the window and your partnership out the window. So you're still communicating what you want, and you're still, but how you show up in the world then influences how other people show up. So by you changing from the inside, you now show up in your life as a different person, which then has other people respond to you differently. And then we don't even have time to get into your energy attracts like energy. This is going back to physics, right? Like energy attracts like energy. Oil and water repel, two water molecules find each other and connect. When you shift from the inside and start thinking differently, you shift your internal energy. And when you take that internal energy out into the world, you start attracting different kinds of people, different kinds of circumstances, different opportunities come your way. I'm telling you, all of the speaking engagements, I'm really telling you, it's not like I went to Microsoft and I was like, oh, you need to hire me, right?
Yeah.
It really was that it was like I met a like-minded person. She whispered down the lane. This is how it goes. The most unexpected opportunities show up in our lives when we've shifted from the inside.
No, I agree with that. Any of the, shows that I've done, any of the talks I've done, I've done over 1,500 presentations and every kind of, from businesses to schools to, leadership venues. Like I can tell you, it all comes from the spirit within.
That's
And
right.
what you're saying is the spirit within every person and every human and all of the world is good. It's good.
Absolutely. And the
It's
only thing that gets in the way
is
is
ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not me versus you. It's you versus you.
Yeah. That's
It's
always.
it's you versus you.
Always.
And what would you share with our audience? Just just as we're closing this out, like, what's of utmost importance? Like for me, like what's utmost importance? I want to go to heaven. Like I know people work their whole life for what's on earth, and that's great, and I enjoy it. As you know, I enjoy every person, but like I don't want to live for like if there's eternity. I want to spend my life each day focused on how I want to believe every person I meet. Because I might only meet you on this podcast. You might never want to hang out with me again. But like, I want you to be in heaven with me one day so that I could go, Joanna girl, she was nice. I liked her earrings. She was such a nice lady. And she loved her father, Larry. I want to see her. I want to be a part of her life. I want to be able to hang out with you one day again. And so that's what's on my heart. But what's on your heart for every person that's here? What's your hope for them?
Yeah. My hope is actually that you make heaven on earth.
It's great.
Yeah. I do believe that when we really change the way that we see ourselves and the way that we see life, we change our whole reality. And that really can be heaven on earth.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your kindness and coming on, and I hope to have you on again for sure. And and hopefully you see like I really just want people to be sincere people, authentic people.
Yes.
And just really, there's so many people who are suffering in their mind, suffering in their feelings, suffering with their physical life.
Yep.
And we can be the game changers, right?
Of course.
We can take our energy. And in my mission statement for my personal life, the word energy's in there.
That's great.
Because like I want to energize every person I meet. I want every single person in the world to know they're amazing. Yeah. Well, you're amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you. As are you. I love the work that you're doing in the world. It's so needed and valuable and useful and important. Yep. It's awesome.
Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live right outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was just in Philadelphia doing a presentation at one of the country clubs there. I forgot which one. It was one of these really, nice, it was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah.
My brother lives in Philadelphia.
Oh, cool. It's great.
Yep. He lives in Media, PA. He lives in Media.
Great.
So, but thank you. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you so much for coming on, and all the best to you. And let me tell you something. Design your life, and what Joanne is saying is like, come on, get it.
Yep.
Meet with those thoughts that are negative, right? Investigate them, right?
And by the way, if anybody is interested, I do have a book called Dethroning Your Inner Critic. It's on Amazon or Audible, and several thousand copies sold already. So it's a very useful book for anybody that wants to delve deep.
And make sure that all the links will be there so you can order that book, and make sure I'll make sure Justin, our producer, make sure those links are in there, and make sure to order a book, because this helped me, today, and I know it'll help so many people.
Yeah.
May you all know you are amazing, that our life is to go out and to encourage all people. Every single person. You might be that difference maker. Go be the difference maker today. Have a great day. And thank you, Joanna. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this episode with someone who needs a little encouragement. For more uplifting content, follow us on our social media pages. See you in the next episode.